Right now?
Yep.
Yeah. First of all, thanks very much for allowing to reminisce from my views over the years. I was very lucky in one respect, in the fact that I could combine my job when I started work as a journalist with my hobbies of cricket, football, etc. I mean, when I started at the Unforgettable Advertiser in 1959, I actually got the job through pigeon fancying. Nothing to do with academic qualification. Jack Dawson, known as Lord Dawson, would have been the chairman of Burscough Council, and he was very friendly with John Prescott, who was the managing director of the Burscough Advertiser at the time. And my father knew Jack very well, of course, and he had a word with the managing director of the Burscough Advertiser, and I got the job.
Yeah.
£2.50 a week it was at the time. And you could go, having said that, you could go to the Chinese restaurant across the road, get a 3-course meal for £5 which was 25p at the time. But journalism in those days was completely different than what it is today. No high technology. My first job was to go around on my bike, get on your bike, Yates, and get round to, used to go Rufford on my bike, Tarleton, Escott Bank, Bretherton, Croston and Morsey. Calling in at all the churches. I knew all the vicars by the first. Calling in Catholic priests, calling to see the Methodist minister, the local village gossip, there was 1 or 2 of them.
Aye. Oh, aye.
And also visiting the schools. But the funny part about it was when I had to go and visit the undertakers to pick up the funeral report.
Oh, the funeral reports.
And 9 times out of 10, they were pinned together with coffin nails. Yeah, and the other thing, I mean, people would laugh at it in this day and age, but when I first went to the Burscough Advertiser, we hadn't got a phone at home. So the first 4 weeks while I was there, every Thursday morning when it was busy, I had to sit on the switchboard and operate the switchboard to learn me how to use a phone.
Use a phone.
Now, you might think that's daft this day and age with all the kids with all the mobile phones and everything, but that was true. That did happen in those days. And
Yeah, but we all had shared phones at that time as well.
That's
when
right.
We first got phones, didn't we?
yeah, well, strangely enough, there was only one person on this road who had a telephone, and it was Bill Baber, the haulage contractor.
Haulage contractors.
And I can remember to this day the number 2278, and it's still on the wagons now.
2278.
Yeah, and it's still on the wagons now.
Oh.
Well, obviously got 89 in front of it, etc. But having said that, yeah, I mean, I also had the chance to watch Skelmersdale United twice in the Amateur Cup. Saw Liverpool win the FA Cup in 1965, and was there when they came home on the following Sunday, when there was, I think there was 1 million people on the street that night. And I'll never forget it, because all the pubs were full of people, and they were dancing on the tables,
Oh, yeah.
kicking the bottles out. And the landlord just stood there and said, I don't care, I'm making a bloody fortune out of this. But, yeah, still on the Liverpool subject, I also was at the match on the following Tuesday when they played Inter Milan in the European Cup semi-final. And the gates were locked at 4:45. It was 7:30 kick-off at the time. And the abiding memory I have is Jerry Byrne, who sort of fractured his collarbone in the cup final, and Gordon Miller, who'd been injured earlier on in the season, came round with the FA Cup. It's the first time they'd ever won it, and that's one thing I'll never forget.
Never forget that.
Another thing is they lost the second leg 3-0 following the controversial
Oh.
decision. But having said that, yeah, well, you know, in that time, like I've done FA Cup finals, Amateur Cup finals, as I say, Rugby League Cup finals.
Yeah, you covered these press-wise.
All but the Liverpool matches.
Oh, I thought so.
Yeah.
You
I was
were a
just
Liverpool supporter.
I was a Liverpool supporter,
Oh.
and my dad was a Liverpool supporter.
Yeah.
So I only went to the Liverpool matches when I could, because I had to cover Burscough and Skem on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was mainly in midweek when I could get to games, but occasional Saturday I got there. But it's marvellous. I mean, Liverpool's an institution, you know, one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Oh.
But everybody is down to earth. I mean, when I was working at the Skelmersdale Reporter, Skem got to the final at Wembley in '71.
Yeah.
Liverpool had got to the FA Cup final that same year. So my boss said to me, what's the link? I said, Steve Highway. He played for Skem in the 60s, then he went to Liverpool. So I had his telephone number anyway from previous, meetings with Rugby. And he said, no problem. So I went to see him and did the interview. Then when I got back to the office, I said, right, John, the boss said, he was an awkward booker too. Real stubborn, but he said, I want you to go out to Anfield. I want an interview with Shankly. No ringing up anybody, he just said, go. So I went down to Anfield, walked straight in. Nobody stopped you or anything. I just said to this chap, is Bill Shankly about? And he says, he's in that little hut over there. So I went to the hut, knocked on the door. I thought, what's he going to say to me? And I told him who I was. He said, lad, come in, have a cup of tea. So I sat down with a cup of tea and started doing an interview with him. And the lads were training on the pitch. And after about 10 minutes of the interview, he said, I've got to go out. I'm playing full-back and goalie in the practice match. He says, you come with me. And you lean on the goalpost with your notebook. And I'll play the match. Yeah. And whenever the ball's at the other end of the pitch, I'll come back to you and we'll carry on. And it went on for an hour, that, him going and leaving me. Oh, but it was unbelievable, you know what I mean? And then like later on, I also had to interview Phil Thompson when I was in charge of the Kirby Reporter. And he was, I think it was his testimonial here, so he says, come down to the dressing rooms. I just got in the dressing rooms. About 5 minutes later, Ronnie Whelan, who was one of the young stars at the time, came in the dressing room with a box full of fish and chips. And he just went, you're so-and-so, you're so-and-so. Just threw them round, and I finished up interviewing Phil Thompson, eating his dinner with him.
It was fish and chips.
It was fish and chips, nothing like you have these days, there was no pastas that... Just threw the fish and chips. You were like on a building site, when the lackey goes around and gets all the fish and chips.
Perhaps they should get back to fish and chips now.
Yeah, there are one or two more funny pieces. There was one when I worked for the Skelmersdale Reporter. Yeah, it was the Skelmersdale Reporter at the time. And I got banned from the ground. Skems ground in 1972. What had happened was, our editorial department, not me, I was in sport then, but the news section had run 2 stories about Skem and funny goings on with money, etc., which wasn't unknown in them days.
Who was chairman then?
Well, Bill Gregson had just got banned at the time, and it was Owen Giller that was the chairman, and his brother Walter was the number 2 at the time. So we wrote this story, not me personally, we wrote this story, and as I went to the next home match, I was heading for the entrance, and the fella says, John, you're banned. Your paper's banned from coming onto the ground. So I said, fair enough. So I went home. But the editor wasn't having it. He said to me, we're going to still cover the matches. And at Skem, they were playing at White Moss Park at the time.
Yeah.
And behind the one in goal was a church.
Yeah.
And there was a dustbin outside. And he had me sat on the dustbin, covering the match, which then got into the hands of the BBC. So BBC, Tony Governor, I don't think he's with us anymore, the commentator, Tony came down to interview me, and what they did, took a picture, took me leaving the office, locking the office door, walking down to White Moss Park, walking away from the ground, and they filmed fans walking into the ground, showing me going away. Sat me on the dustbin and interviewed me on the dustbin. And they run the actual programme. It was on BBC Luke North at 6:10. And it was the main item on the bloody news. And I wish I'd got a copy of that.
I wonder if we could get over it from the BBC archives.
It was 97. It was a match against. Luke. It was a match against Rill in 1972.
Wow. It'll be in the
archives. And then, funnily enough, on the same night, my daughter Jacqueline was in a dancing competition at the Institute. Yeah. And my dad obviously played for her. He was on the organ for her. And when I walked in, the whole place went in uproar. Because it was against Skem. They were all cheering me into the place. I felt very embarrassed. But, you know, at the time, obviously there's only BBC and ITV around at that time.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but it's great, the memories. It'd be lovely if we could get hold of that.
Yeah.
It was funny. But I'm just looking down and see if there's anything else. Oh, one other strange happening. Well, it's amusing, really. You wouldn't think this would have happened, but I was covering the 1989 Challenge Cup final, which Castleford won. And on the same day, Liverpool were playing against Chelsea in a crucial league match. And Castleford had just won the Challenge Cup. We were allowed in the dressing room in those days.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go straight into the dressing room. And I sat down with Bob Beadmore, who played for Castleford. And I explained, well, I was working for the Rugby League then, and I explained who I was, what I wanted. You know what the first word he said? How's Liverpool gone on at Chelsea there? They just won the Challenge Cup. It's the greatest prize you could ever win in this sport. They wanted to know Liverpool had gone against Chelsea.
Some terrific lads in Rugby League.
I was going to say, there's a complete difference between the Rugby League lads do everything for them. Nothing's too much trouble. There's no airs and graces with them.
They're still the same today.
They don't change it up. Maybe because it's a northern-based sport where people are probably a little bit more friendly than the southerners. I might be wrong, but
I don't think.
I know most of the players, like, you know, Paul Wellens, who's just retired now, John Wilkie, and people like that. They're all great blokes, you know.
Yeah, they're different. They're just down to earth guys, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, when I retired in, I think it was 2001 from the St Helens Report, they asked me to carry on doing the rugby.
Yeah.
So I jumped at the chance, and I'm still doing Saints.
Still doing it now.
Still doing the Saints matches now every week now.
You ready for this season?
I'm just ready for start. Well, I've had 2 matches so far. I've had 2 friendlies, but the second one we were tonked by witness.
Oh.
But there you are. But there you are. But yeah. There's also my interest in the football club. I mean, my uncle Johnny Baldwin founded the Burscough Football Club in 1947. So, as a young lad, I used to go round to his house when there was an away match, sit in the chair and wait for him to come in from the ground. Because he'd been sort of marking the pitch for the other game. Right. Sat there waiting for him to come and say, "Do you want to come to the match today?" And I always used to jump at the away matches. And like in them days, there was no motorways. So when you went to somewhere like to play Netherfield at Kendal, 4-hour journey. It used to be a 4-hour journey, and you used to pack the bus with sandwiches and that, and then on the way home after, you used to try to find a restaurant to have a meal. But but one abiding memory of the success of the football club early on, not counting the FA Trophy which we won into, which was the greatest achievement for a village Burscough's size you could ever imagine. I still don't believe it. Sometimes I pinch myself. See if we won. Did we win the FA Trophy? But I remember just after the war when we won the 3 main trophies: the Junior Cup, George Mahone Cup, and the Liverpool Challenge Cup. And those 3, the 48 one was at Blackburn, and the 50 was at Blackburn against us. But I always remember going to school as a little lad. 3 trophies in China shop window with all the green ribbons on, and all the kids our age. Every day we used to be peering at these trophies. And there was a photo. Yeah, there was a photo. Because I think Mr. Chan was involved in the.
He took the photographs.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I even remember coming home. I think it was 1950 final with a trophy, and in this day and age, with a junior, you fill it with champagne and that. It was filled with ice cream for the kids to take it. They probably filled it with beer after, but initially it was actually filled with ice cream. Yeah, it was surprising. But like at that time, that era, the early 50s, they had some good sides at Burscough. And there's one player played centre forward for them, and he was quite good actually. But if I said to you now, his name was Billy Murray, you'd say, "Who's he?" No idea. Well, he happens to be the granddad of the present England and Manchester United captain, Wayne Rooney.
His granddad?
That's his granddad, played for Burscough. And he's in the Burscough village, he's Booth, yeah. But then after that, we obviously reached the first round proper. of the FA Cup in 1959. That was the very first time it had happened. It was a unique time, and for me personally, extra added incentives. I just started work at the Unforgettable Advertiser,
Oh, lovely.
and that was my first big sporting job, covering Burscough football in this cup, first round against Cruellas. And mind you, having said that, the managing director of the Unforgettable Advertiser was at the match, and he liked a few ales. And I was only 16 at the time, and I went to the press box with a bottle of pop. And he called me in the following morning, Yates, I don't want members of my staff seen drinking pop, you should be drinking beer. That's true. That's
So you got told off for being a good lad?
I got told off for being a good lad at the time, but as I say, that the match itself, it sort of attracted television coverage, and that was unique in those days. You know, you never got much mention on the television. Well, there wasn't many channels at the time, and I remember we lost the match 3-1 after having scored first through Jimmy Jones, who sadly is no longer with us. But my abiding memory is the local farmers bringing the hay carts.
That's right, all around the ground.
All around the cricket club.
Yeah.
What was the cricket club field at the
Right,
time?
full length of
Full
that
length of that,
side.
and
Yeah.
they nearly fell off when we scored first.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but we've been through, as a football club, they've been through to the first round of the FA Cup on numerous other times as well, and probably the most prestigious was when they played in '78. I think it was against Sheffield United at Sheffield and got beat 3-0. But the one player, the star man for the Sheffield team that year, was Alex Sabella, who was the Argentinian World Cup coach last year.
Yeah.
So we had a World Cup coach playing against
Burscough.
and that's Burscough. But as I said before, you couldn't, in terms of achievement, you couldn't beat the FA Trophy winning 2 or 3 against Tamworth. I mean, beating Yeovil at the time in the quarter-final was an absolute unbelievable achievement. You couldn't even believe that. They hardly lost a game. They're on the way to the Football League. They're the holders of the trophy.
And they had a great manager too.
Oh, Burscough had a great manager, Sean Teeley, playing manager, and but he had a team which was combined of experience and youth. I mean, young Taylor, who played in goal at the time, actually finished up playing centre half for Charlton Athletic.
Yeah.
You know, that's the versatility of it.
Yeah.
But now since then, obviously they're not doing quite as well as they have in past years. Although they're not doing too bad this season.
This season,
They picked up a lot this time, and
very unsettled time for them.
sadly, apart from the one bit of unrest within the club from different factors, what saddens me is they can only get gigs of 100.
Yeah.
I mean, in years gone by, when in the 50s, when we used to have to go to Skem, sometimes you had to go on your bike to watch Skem and Burscough. They had crowds of 3,000.
Yeah.
And the village then, well, there wasn't 10,000 people in the village then, but they seemed to pull together for the football. But,
They came in from all round though as well.
oh yeah. But on another issue is the cricket. Like I've been involved in Burscough Cricket Club since 1956, which is over 60 years, and there's only one other person who's been involved as long as he's my friend Albert Bear.
Albert, yeah.
He and I are the trustees now,
Yeah.
and he's done a lot of work for the club, because from difficult business, and plus Rod Clayton did a lot for the cricket club.
Yeah.
When we were on Rees Park from 1971 till 1995, and it was prime housing land.
Yeah.
So they actually wanted us to get off there as soon as we could, but I can't sort of recall a lot of match results. They seem to fade back, but funny moments and things that happen are surprising. I mean, I was saying to Alan the other day, one of the stories is about his brother, Tony, who was a fast bowler, but Tony was a bit erratic at times and in those days it was 8 ball overs, so it was a tough ask when you keep bowling no balls and wide. And Dave Lomax, who was a character in the village at the time, our wicket keeper, was stood at the back of the wickets for 1 over. I can remember, I'll never forget, Tony came hurtling in, and he did come hurtling. He was so enthusiastic. He come hurtling in, bowled it, and he was about that far wide of the wickets, and Dale had to throw himself full length to try to stop it. He stopped some, and the over kept going. It went down that side of the wicket, and he threw himself that way and missed it. And after about 7 balls he missed, he just looked at Tony, took his gloves off, and threw them straight at him. He said, "I'm not stumping for you anymore, lad. No chance." But Dave was on a short fuse, so he stormed off the pitch, and he just got by the changing room, and as I said, being only had the short fuse, he said, "I better go back out," and he come back, and he carried on, oh yeah, there was and like there was one or two other things at the cricket club, like Bill Weatherall.
Oh, Billy.
Billy Weatherall. He wasn't exactly what you could say a full shilling.
No.
And he used to come up and watch games. And at that time we'd only got one team. And we were playing the fool with him, saying, "Bill, we're short on Saturday. Can you come and play for us?" So, sure enough, he turns up just before 2 o'clock. And he'd been in Walton's, and he bought one of those little cricket bats and a little set of wickets and brought them with him to use.
Oh, that was Billy.
Yeah, I mean, Billy was a character where, like you, as you know, his brother Arnold. And Arnold used to say, whenever I had the rent money, I hid it under the soap, because Billy would never find it. Which is a true story, but as I say, you know...
They were 2 rum brothers.
They were, weren't they? Yeah. I mean, the cricket itself... Yeah, I think I've gone through most of the things happening at the cricket.
So with the cricket,
the other thing was when we were on the cricket, about cricket, was when we'd moved off Rees Park to move to School Lane, which we achieved really thanks to Albert Bailey and Rod Clayton.
Yeah.
They were the instigators of getting us into School Lane. But when they started building houses on Rees Park, which was a former Remy depot, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah. That was the football pitch we
That's
used
right.
to play,
They started digging excavator, and they found a World War II bomb.
Right.
Now we were playing cricket on there. Now whether it would have exploded while we were playing in those 10 years there, I don't know. But it was quite a culture shock, that. But back to the cricket, it's a personal opinion, but I don't think the modern generation really appreciate what kind of facilities they've got down there.
They don't.
They are fantastic facilities. I mean, when we played, we had one bag, that big, with 4 bats in, pads, etc., balls, and all paid for by the club. Nobody, only the most affluent mother and father, could buy his kid a bat. Now they've got everything. Everything. They can make their own, and sometimes just leave them lying around all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, but that's my only gripe, but they, they have done a good job there. And there were occasions over the past 30 where we nearly folded, due mainly to at one time through lack of interest. But now they're soldiering on, and everything seems to be quite rosy at the cricket club, and everybody's pulling the weight, so to speak. And hopefully,
are you doing a record of the cricket club yourself?
I've been wanting to write a book on it, and I've just never got round to it.
Have you not?
No.
That would be an interesting book, because
Yeah.
you would go back to
Well, it was like when I wrote the
down
football
the
book.
wreck.
I did it out of my head, really.
Yeah.
Most of it. Like I started writing one. Frank Pine asked me to write, and Stan Strickland had also started doing his own. So he rang me and said, "It's no use just doing 2 separate. We'll come together and do it. I'll do my bit and you do your bit." And it's
with the cricket club, you would go back to when it was at the side of the football club, wouldn't you?
Well, I remember playing at the cricket club at Victoria Park, and I remember batting with Bob Langton, the only Burscough born person ever to play for England. And God, was he fast between the wickets.
Oh, yeah.
You used to sit, wait for the ball, you'd tap it, and then next minute, second, run! It was so fast, it was unbelievable. And sometimes I used to train with him on the cricket field in the summer with Nat Lofthouse.
Yeah.
Because Nat used to come down sometimes.
That used to come down. Yeah.
That's right, he was very friendly with him, and all the kids used to run around the pitch with him, etc. But yeah, and I was also thinking about Burscough in general. I mean, most of my working life was out of the village, so I didn't work in the village. But I was thinking they got the number of top chip shops we used to have in the village.
Oh, great.
Littlers, Billy Eastwood,
Eastwood's.
Littlers,
Yeah.
and then there was Rimmers up Burscough Town.
Yeah, but there was Brown over the bridge.
That's what I said, Browns, yeah.
Yeah.
But I always remember Katie in the
In
Eastwood
Eastwood's.
with that
Yeah.
dirty great big pan. It must have been that big,
Oh, wow.
all black and full of peas.
Yeah.
It used to be absolutely brilliant. They used to be fantastic peas.
Take the dish.
Yeah, you could
With
do
cloth,
anything.
with cloth over it.
Top, yeah. Yeah. Then there was the old, then there was the old cinema at the Institute, the
Yes.
Derby. We had the Derby cinema for many years. It's something Burscough's, I suppose, has missed, but
Great days then.
they were great days. I mean, I actually saw the Beatles there before they were the Beatles,
Yeah.
and saw them in the Cavern as well. So like you could go like in the swinging 60s. I think it's a fantastic age to have lived in.
Yes.
The 60s. I might be wrong. They might
I
be
don't,
better.
I don't
It might
think
be.
so.
But,
It was a very.
but like you could go and watch the Beatles, the Hollies, the Searchers,
Yeah.
Jerry and the Pacemakers for £2 bob,
And the blue jeans.
and the swinging blue jeans for 2 shillings, and the sweat coming off the wall, and Cilla Black in the cloakroom.
Yeah.
But you didn't look on those. They weren't, well, they were stars, but they weren't big stars. They
Well, they
were.
were friendly.
Oh, of course they were.
If you went in often, they knew you.
Yeah.
They'd speak to you, they'd talk to you.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
But, will that do you for the time being?
Perfect.